No long intro. Weekly trading review and lessons. Now, for this week, let's start with the first lesson. Well, first out of many we learned from our mentor, ICT. Now, he tweeted this on Twitter. Let me read it for you guys. He said, "One of the things I do not like about my wife, she likes to finish my sentences. Impatience will hurt you in this industry. No one said anything about a short. I stated we sit still, wait for manipulation post-Fed chair at 10 a.m., nothing but longs outlined." Now, to give you guys some context, earlier throughout the morning session, we've been outlining longs. ICT was only going long in the markets. I think he may have traded, three times, three entries. I actually took two entries myself, but he mentioned how we still had sell side in the markets, that it's likely that they might use manipulation post-Fed announcements. I think it was a high impact news event where we could potentially look for shorts. But he never actually said it though. That's what I assumed, at least. So in some sense I'm at fault, and this tweet might have been directed to people who, or students that thought like I did, because he never actually said that directly. It's just what I insinuated from the whole thing. So here it is, middle of the morning sessions, us as students were getting scolded. And now, here's one of the things I found to be quite comical when I looked through his Twitter, is we had a student who actually posted something I found to be quite hilarious. Let's take a look. Here's what he said. Pull this up for you guys. This is a screenshot I took. This is a reply to the tweet. One guy, his name is Phantom, he said, "Noted. Don't get a wife." And to me, I found that to be so hilarious. It was so funny. And even though we're getting yelled at as students and, felt kind of bad, but the comic relief within that tweet was just, it's exactly what we needed. And I actually replied to his tweet saying LOL because I thought it was funny. And so did 29 other people. Maybe more now, but at the time, it was just so funny seeing that, because I see mentioned that his wife finishes his sentences, and that has a lot to do with impatience. And he mentioned how impatience will actually hurt us in this industry, and we've seen this time and time again. But who listens? And the trade itself, I'm still not upset with the trade, because I honestly believe there was a good setup in my opinion. And although I'm still in my infantile stages when it comes to understanding price action, I was okay with that loss. I figured, all right, this is a trade that I actually saw and I believed in, and it just didn't work out. It's simply another transaction. Now, let's take a look at the trade itself, and after we'll go over some of our other live trades. Now, here's the setup. Prior to this, I actually entered a position here. I went long here, 5 contracts, closed 3 inside of this liquidity void, and close another one up here, and move my stop loss to break even while leaving my last contract. And eventually price took me out, stopped me out at break even, which was fine. And I also entered another trade here and took profit up here. So I was 2 for 2 on the day, and I figured, all right, buy side liquidity is taken. Fed's high impact news event around at 10 a.m. All right, that came out, nothing crazy, and we have displacement. So we had this fair value gap. And we also mentioned, I think we were aiming for 36.33 or 37.33 and a quarter. I'm not sure what the specific price level was, but I remember it ended in 33 or something like that. And I entered here, had my limit order, stop loss up here, and it took me out. And I wasn't upset with that trade because I understood, although it didn't go my way, I had two winning trades earlier, although these were paper trades. And funny enough, my actual live trade I took lost money. So the two paper trades made profits, and the live one just didn't pan out. I think it was a loser for about 225, which is fine, not no biggie, no problem. Now let's go. Let's take a look at some of my other trades, and there's a lot more I want to talk about when it comes to this specific tweet. But let's look at our other trades. Now took three trades for the week. I know, a lot of trades, right? No, it's not a lot at all. But that's just what I can handle. That's just the things that I believe in. So I try to bring down how often I trade when it comes to volume, because I really understand this now. The more you trade, the more you increase your odds of having losers, and I don't like them. It pains me most of the time, and this one was one of them. This is the actual trade right here, minus $225, $100. Have the screenshot here. Now, let's look one of our other trades, GU. Now, although the first trade didn't quite upset me, but this one did. And the reason why it did is because I made a mistake. Now, let's take a look at this. You can see it here. Now, let's take a look at this trade, and we'll talk about why it upset me so much to have that loser. Now, here's the setup itself. Choppy market conditions, really. But the reason why is because when I compared and contrast the fiber and the cable, I saw that GU itself showed strength while EU was showing weakness. So if I want to go short, ideally I'd want to do so in the weaker market, which is EU, which was my original plan. But let's look at what happened with EU. Now here it is. Absolutely beautiful setup here. Absolutely beautiful. We had displacement here. Liquidity void. So during London, I was anticipating price to fill this liquidity void. Although that wasn't enough for me, I failed to realize that we had a bearish breaker inside this liquidity void. I mean, this is one of the setups I would kill for, but I simply did not realize it. I was so caught up in looking at GU and the relationship between GU and the dollar, I failed to see this. And I was also looking at this on a different time frame. I think it was a 15-minute, then dropped down to a 5. And I only saw this when I went all the way down to a 4-minute chart. And by the time I realized it, price already traded into this, and it was down here. And of course, you can always enter here. It's not that far off, but for me, it was just too much. And it pained me to see that I missed this setup. So like any logical person, or perhaps not, when I looked at GU, and GU gave me a clear setup, I figured, all right, although I missed the EU trade, which would have been ideal, I can still get in on this one. So I placed my sell limit order up here, stop loss up here, and price just violently took me out. Just violent. And traded lower for a bit, and then eventually rallied. And it sucked because I knew this one was the right trade, and I just missed it. And we're talking about minutes here. I'm missing this within minutes. Time I click 4-minute time frame, and price in this candle had just closed, and I realized where it came from. You know, bearish breaker inside the liquidity void. Oh man, I mean, This one pained me. And this one hurt so much. And what hurts even more is the fact that when I tried to, still get in, although I wasn't chasing price, it's just a different market, this one took me out. The one that I didn't want to trade in the first place, markets kind of forced my hand, which isn't really a thing. It's my decision, and I made the wrong one. And I remember in my journal, I was telling myself, you have to be better than this. You can't make these mistakes. You can't let this get away from you. And of course, I was a bit hard on myself, and I understand that. And of course, we all have losers, and that's simply part of the process. But this one, it's one of those that I wish I could get back, but it's in the past. So let's move on. Move on to my only winning trade of the week on my live account. Let's take a look. Is this euro? We have the screenshot here. Took partials. Had a 5 lot, took partials, left another 5, and closed the remaining. Now, let's look at this trade itself also. Let's scroll down. Beautiful price action here. Markets took out sell side liquidity. And we have our classic 2 consecutive down candles, which is one of the hallmarks when it comes to predicting or anticipating an order block. This, I believe, was on a 3-minute chart. So if you had moved to a 5-minute chart, in all likelihood, this would look like a regular bearish order block. But when you scroll down to the lower time frames, at least for me personally, I'm able to see those quite clearly. And you see the same thing here also. 2 consecutive down candles. And those are just beautiful. And of course, you can't just pick random 2 consecutive down candles. It's really time and price. And the reason why this one was a winner for me is because price did so while taking out sell side liquidity. And I was bullish on the day. Above here, we still had buy side, relative equal highs in here. So when I saw this, I was very excited. I wasn't actually even anticipating this. This just happened on the fly. I was actually doing some school assignment. And when I saw that, I just stopped doing the assignment. I was like, all right, let me jump on this. And I already had the charts marked up most of the time. And of course, we had price below New York opening, which is one of my hallmarks. Like if I'm buying in my classic buy day, I only want to buy below New York opening, not close to it. I know some people can do close to it, but for me personally, it's very binary. It's either it's below New York or I'm not buying at all, which is actually one of the reasons why I missed the EU short trade earlier. The reason why, let me show you guys actually. Look at this. The reason why I specifically didn't trade this, because I could have had a sell limit in here whatsoever. I didn't need to know this was a bearish breaker. Some of you guys would actually still sell this inside this fair value gap. But for me, the reason why I threw that aside is because price was already below New York opening. So this is New York opening. So to me, I only want to sell above New York opening or buy below New York opening. So price was already trading below New York opening. So I did not want to sell this. That's actually one of the reasons why I just completely disregarded this market at the time and focused solely on GU. Because I figured, all right, this market's already below New York opening. I'm not going to sell it anyways. So let's focus on something I can actually trade. But had I realized it had the bearish breaker, I would have been able to put aside this rule, because the bearish breaker is very, very powerful. Very powerful. On its own, it's very powerful. Which is exactly why you can see price respect this candle like that. I mean, you can actually see this a lot of times a lot of times if you pay attention. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't pay much attention to this price action, because I knew it was below New York opening. So I didn't want to trade it in the first place. But had I seen the breaker, I would have put that to the side. But it's okay. We'll move on, and we ended up having a winner. And while price taking out sell side here, we're back to this example. Price trades into the order block, and I got in here, exactly in here, and it was a 7 pip stop loss. Ultra tight stops. My stops are usually 10 pips or less, but usually I keep it to 10 pips just because. So I got in here, partials up here somewhere, and eventually closed the rest of the trade here. And of course it rallied more for about 55 pips or so, but I was content with 25 pips simply just to get my losses back for the week, and hopefully we'll have a better week next week. Now, this is about it for the trades I've taken this week. Now, let's go back to our mind map. There's a lot more to talk about here, a lot more to learn. Although, let's look at this. Meditation. This is by Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite books. Let's take a look. Here's what he said. He says, always make a decision, always make a definition or sketch of what presents itself to your mind, so you can see it stripped bare to its essential nature and identify it clearly. Now, this is actually one of the reasons why I decided to do these mind maps. It's not for fame. It's not, to get YouTube AdSense. It's simply to strip bare everything that comes to mind and sketch it. This is a really good thing when it comes to mind map, because the reason why there are mind maps, because they're very efficient when it comes to learning. Very, very efficient. That's why I love mind mapping, and I love seeing other people mind map. I'm a big fan of Joseph Rodriguez. You can check out his YouTube channel. He's one of the reasons why I decided to use mind maps personally. Now, 3 trades, not a lot of volume. I took more trades on paper trading, but 3 trades I actually wanted to make count. Now, 0-2 for the first part of the weekend. Now, while I'm recording this, that's about 2 hours after this trade. So on Friday, London session, I made this back. Although I was completely fine with ending the week on a bad note, let's say. Although I learned lots of lessons from ICT and his Twitter, I was okay with having 2 losers. I learned a lot, and that's part of the process. They're simply transactions. So to be able to get that trade back and make $2,500 from it, I was pretty happy. Now, keep in mind, guys, I do suggest you all take this and you journal, because a lot of this comes from my journaling. A lot of these screenshots I have, the proofs of each of these trades, they're in my journals. That's why I'm able to put this together, put these mind maps together and talk to you guys. Now, the review itself, I want to keep them short. I know a lot of you guys don't want to spend 40, 50 minutes watching this. So this is my weekly review. These are the only trades that really matter to me. Everything else is simply practice and putting all of it towards my 10,000 hours towards mastery. Now, this is very important. This is very important because it helps me remember all my trades. Remember the setups, the mistakes I've made, and getting better when it comes to reading price action. I'm actually very scary when it comes to reading price action. Eventually, down the line, I'll think about doing live streams where you guys can actually watch me mark my charts and actually trade live. I'm not going to give you signals. Half the time, I'll be quiet while I'm trading. So you'll see me buying and selling, but I won't tell you, hey, go buy this or that. So on this note, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Happy Friday and happy weekend also. And this is my weekly trading review and lessons.